We live in this ecosystem that uh, absolutely demands you are constantly visible.
Oh, constantly. Yeah.
Like, think about your average workday. You have to reply to a Slack message within, I don't know, 30 seconds.
Right, or people think you're offline.
Exactly. You have to be loud in the Zoom meeting. You have to be posting and reacting in real time just to prove you are, actually doing something.
Yeah, there's this pressure to perform.
It's exhausting. And the loudest person in the room is almost always assumed to be the one steering the ship. But what if the exact opposite is true?
I love this question.
Right. What if, in a culture completely obsessed with generating noise, the ultimate flex of true power is actually doing less?
It is a really counterintuitive idea, especially today, because we are so deeply conditioned to equate silence with weakness.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, we assume if you aren't talking, you either don't know the answer or, you lack the confidence to share it.
You're just timid, right?
Right. But when you look at the behavior of highly effective leaders or elite athletes and historical strategists, a completely different pattern emerges.
And exploring that pattern is the mission of this deep dive.
Mm.
We are looking at a document today titled Day 166, The Power of Restraint.
It's such a great text.
It really is. It's an incredible synthesis of sources ranging from Stoic philosophy and military strategy to modern coaching science and physiology.
Yeah, it covers a lot of ground.
It does. And the goal is to uncover what the text beautifully describes as the quiet architecture of power. Okay, let's unpack this, because we need to make an immediate distinction here.
Definitely.
This concept of restraint, it is not about being passive. It's not about, hiding in the corner because you're intimidated.
No, and that is a critical foundation for everything we're about to discuss today. We often mistake restraint for withdrawal.
Right, like pulling away completely.
Exactly. But these sources reveal restraint as a highly active, intentional mechanism. It is a calculated tool used to command more attention, not less.
Because it's deliberate.
Yes. The people who practice this, they hold something in reserve not out of fear, but because they understand a fundamental truth about human psychology.
Which is what?
That to have true impact, you have to rigorously manage how you project your energy into the world.
So to understand how restraint actually builds power, we first have to look at the physics of how we present ourselves.
Right.
Like the literal thermodynamics of human presence.
Yeah, Robert Greene offers a brilliant framework for this. He leans on an analogy from the 17th century writer François de la Rochefoucauld.
Oh, I love this quote.
It's so vivid, right? The quote is, absence diminishes minor passions and inflames great ones, as the wind douses a candle and fans a fire.
Wow. Fans of fire.
Right. Greene takes that image and applies thermodynamic logic to leadership and social dynamics. Like, think about how heat actually works.
Okay.
It flows from a hot space to a cold space until it reaches equilibrium. If you are constantly blasting your presence out into the world, talking all the time, micromanaging, reacting to every minor irritant, your energy dissipates.
You lose your temperature differential.
Precisely.
You essentially become room temperature.
Yes. You become the background noise. It becomes impossible to project authority when your presence is that common and your energy is entirely distributed.
Because overpresence actually grates on people.
It really does.
I mean, I follow the logic, but I have to push back here on behalf of anyone listening who works in a modern corporate environment.
Sure, yeah.
The immediate fear is relevance. Like, if I decide to practice restraint and I stop chiming in on every email chain, or I don't immediately react to every single crisis, doesn't my boss just assume I'm slacking off?
It's a valid concern.
Doesn't absence just equal irrelevance in that setting?
It's a very real fear, but it actually misunderstands the mechanics of attention. There is a vast difference between baseline reliability and over-accessibility.
Okay, break that down.
So Greene's prescription isn't to vanish completely, it's to lean slightly more toward absence than people expect.
Oh, I see.
When you are highly capable but slightly less accessible, your presence actually generates anticipation.
You're training them.
Exactly. You are training the people around you to value your input because it isn't constantly available. Silence, in this context, signals intense self-control.
That makes total sense. It actually reminds me of this coaching analogy from the text that perfectly answers my own question.
Oh, the basketball coach.
Yeah. Think about the basketball coach on the sidelines who is screaming during every single play. They're correcting micro errors in real time, pacing, throwing their hands up.
We've all seen that coach.
Right. That coach thinks they're exerting control, but functionally they are leaking authority. The players' brains literally tune it out.
The yelling just becomes white noise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then you have the coach who stays seated all season, watching quietly, arms folded. When that coach finally calls a timeout and speaks one measured sentence, the entire team hangs on every word.
What's fascinating here is how Sun Tzu approaches that exact same dynamic from a military strategy perspective.
Oh yes, Sun Tzu is all over this.
He is. He says, opportunities multiply as they are seized. But restraint is the strategic readiness required to actually seize them.
Like the archer analogy.
Yes. Think about an archer. The still archer, holding the bowstring taut, commands vastly more tension and attention than a frantic archer running around dropping arrows everywhere.
Because the still archer represents potential energy.
Exactly. The frantic archer is wasting kinetic energy on mere movement. You multiply opportunity by remaining calibrated.
So presence without discipline is just noise.
Right.
But presence with restraint is a concentrated signal.
Precisely.
So if overpresence is so weakening, if it just turns us into background noise, why do we constantly feel this burning urge to fill the silence?
That's the million-dollar question.
I mean, we all feel it. The compulsion to reply, to correct someone over a tiny factual error, just to prove we belong in the room. The sources point to a very specific internal culprit for this, which is the ego.
Yeah, and Ryan Holiday provides a really penetrating diagnostic tool for this. We normally categorize ego as outward arrogance, right?
Like the loud braggart.
Exactly. But Holiday frames ego as a canary in the coal mine. Back when miners carried canaries underground, the bird itself wasn't the danger.
It was an early warning system.
Yes. If the canary died, it meant invisible toxic gases were building up, and you needed to change direction immediately. Ego functions the exact same way for our psychological state.
Which completely flips how we view arrogant behavior. When we see someone constantly demanding the spotlight, it's actually an indicator of internal collapse.
Yes, it's a symptom of a deeper fragility. Holiday notes that the bully has almost invariably been bullied themselves.
Right. Hurt people hurt people.
Exactly. The leader who constantly demands celebration is usually feeling profoundly uncelebrated inside. True strength never needs to advertise its own existence.
This just is.
Right. If a CEO or a team member is constantly broadcasting how hard they work or how vital they are displaying a neediness that fundamentally undermines trust. Confidence absorbs pressure quietly.
While ego insists on telling everyone how heavy the burden is.
Perfectly said.
I get so enthusiastic about how this applies inward, too. We usually think of ego as the noise we direct at other people. But there's a fascinating insight from Bruce Lee in these sources about how we direct noise at ourselves.
Oh, his thoughts on self-talk.
Yes, he argued vehemently against negative self-talk, even in jest. He basically said, you should never playfully put yourself down.
Right.
But I have to ask, what's the actual harm? A lot of people use self-deprecating humor to break the ice or to seem humble. Why is that a violation of restraint?
It comes down to how the human nervous system actually processes language. The conscious part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, understands irony and sarcasm.
It knows I'm making a joke.
Right. But your limbic system and the deeper physiological networks of your body, they do not parse sarcasm. They process the emotional weight and literal meaning of the words you use.
So when I joke, I'm such an idiot for missing that typo, my body logs that as a literal instruction.
It logs it as a biological data point. You are habituating your nervous system to a state of threat or inadequacy.
Wow. Which is why they say words are energy that casts spells, right? Hence the word spelling.
Yes. That is a brilliant way to frame it. The discipline of internal restraint isn't about vanity. It's about neuroplasticity. You are building the quiet architecture of your own mind.
And if you constantly flood it with negative noise, you're structurally weakening your resilience.
Exactly. And Susan Jeffers builds on this by addressing a huge cultural blind spot we have. She points out that society has falsely equated being negative with being realistic.
Oh, yeah. You see this in corporate environments all the time.
All the time. The person anticipating disaster is often viewed as the smart, clear-eyed strategist, while the positive person is dismissed as naive.
Right.
And Jeffers argues that is a deeply damaging fallacy. The realist, who constantly voices worst-case scenarios, isn't actually seeing the world more clearly.
What are they doing then?
They are just preloading a negative outcome. They are training their brain to expect failure, which creates a self-fulfilling chemical state of anxiety.
Ah, I see.
Real champions practice internal restraint by relishing the challenge. And relishing isn't a passive reaction to external events, it is a deliberate internal framing mechanism.
It's choosing the productive signal over the anxious noise inside your own head.
Precisely.
So if we are supposed to remain quiet and self-assured and carefully calibrated, what happens when we actually mess up?
Because we all do.
Exactly. Does restraint mean we just stay silent, fold our arms, and hide our mistakes? Here's where it gets really interesting, because there are two very common, very flawed ways people apologize.
Oh, this part of the text is so revealing.
It is. On one side, you have the over-explainer, the person who makes a mistake and then just verbally vomits apologies.
Yeah.
They explain all their personal stress, practically begging for forgiveness.
Right.
And suddenly, the whole team has to pause and do the emotional labor of comforting the person who actually made the error.
Which, if you look closely, is just another manifestation of ego. The over-explainer is making the failure entirely about their own emotional discomfort rather than addressing the disruption they caused the group.
Right. And on the flip side, you have the gaslighter, the person who uses silence as a shield and never acknowledges the error at all.
And neither of those is true restraint. Robert Greene outlines a masterful middle path here.
Okay, what is it?
True restraint in the face of failure means your contrition must be clear and it must be concise. You state that you made the mistake. You do not whine. You do not get defensive, and you absolutely do not over-explain.
You bypass the urge to say, I'm sorry, but...
Yes, no buts. You own the error quietly. And then you shut up and let your subsequent actions do the teaching.
Because what matters isn't the performance of the apology, it's the behavioral correction.
Exactly. And Ryan Holiday provides some stark historical examples of what happens when highly capable people fail to practice this specific type of accountability.
Like Seneca.
Yes. Seneca is a perfect example. He is one of the most famous Stoic philosophers in history, yet he served Emperor Nero, a brutally corrupt tyrant, for 13 long years.
That's always been wild to me.
Now, Seneca eventually tried to pull away, but in all of his voluminous writings, there's virtually no record of him openly reflecting on his own complicity.
How does a Stoic justify that?
Through cognitive dissonance and rationalization, he likely told himself, if I leave, someone worse will take my place.
Right, playing the martyr.
Yeah, but by failing to quietly and clearly own that massive moral compromise, he used silence as avoidance. The tragedy is the lost legacy, what future generations could have learned about navigating systemic corruption.
Wow.
And then there's the example of Diotimus, who was caught fabricating letters to destroy political rivals. When he was exposed, he offered no repair. He just vanished into his own ego.
This perfectly sets up a vital warning from Marcus Aurelius that I want to emphasize for everyone listening.
You do.
He wrote, "You can also commit injustice by doing nothing. Restraint in your speech is absolutely not passivity in your principles."
No, it's not.
If we go back to our basketball coach analogy, if that quiet coach watches a standard erode, like if players are constantly showing up late and the coach stays silent just to maintain their stoic persona,
Yeah.
they aren't practicing quiet strength. They're committing a quiet wrong.
That is the defining boundary. Restraint is the withholding of unnecessary noise. It is never the withholding of necessary moral action. You only earn the right to use silence strategically if your baseline standards of accountability are fiercely maintained.
Right, so we've seen how restraint governs our social presence, our ego, and our failures. Now, I want to transition into how these sources apply this exact same discipline to the most precious finite resources we have.
Which are?
Our time, our focus, and our physical effort.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it all fundamentally comes down to the discipline of the present moment. Seneca makes a devastating observation about human hypocrisy regarding resources.
Okay, what did he notice?
He points out that people will fiercely guard their physical property. Like if someone tries to encroach on your land or take money from your bank account, you will fight them tooth and nail.
Obviously.
But when it comes to our time, we are wildly extravagant.
Oh, we just hand it over to anyone. Or, worse, we waste it ourselves.
Yes, through what these sources frame as the ultimate form of overpresence, being mentally trapped in the past or the future.
Give me an example of that.
Well, if you are sitting at dinner but your mind is replaying an argument from yesterday, or agonizing over an email you have to send tomorrow, you are functionally absent from your actual life.
You're projecting your energy elsewhere.
Right. You are projecting your precious cognitive energy into times that literally do not exist.
Marcus Aurelius offers an architectural remedy for this that I found incredibly practical. It's essentially cognitive compartmentalization.
I love how he frames this.
He advises minimizing the scope of your life when things get overwhelming. Like, don't face the whole day, just face the morning. If the morning is too heavy, don't face the whole task, just the very first item on your desk. You put a boundary around the present moment.
He is advocating for aggressively restricting where you allow your attention to go. It is a refusal to let your mental energy leak out into the future.
And the deepest layer of this discipline is the concept of amor fati, right? Loving fate.
Yes.
Nietzsche and Green both talk about this, not just as bearing what happens to you, but actively embracing it. Marcus Aurelius frames this using the imagery of a fire.
It's a powerful image.
He says a blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. If you throw garbage onto a weak fire, it gets smothered. But a roaring fire, it consumes the obstacle and uses it as fuel.
That roaring fire is the restrained, disciplined, present mind. It connects to Alphonse Karr's observation that the exact same plant can be viewed as a beautiful rose bush or a painful thorn bush.
It's all about perspective.
Exactly. The biological reality of the plant hasn't changed. What changed is the cognitive frame. The discipline of presence is essentially the discipline of controlling the frame.
Which brings us to perhaps the most surprising application of this entire philosophy, how it applies to physiology and lifting weights.
I didn't expect this in the text, but it fits perfectly.
It really does.
Yeah.
Pavel Tsatsouline is a legendary strength coach, and his philosophy is the exact physical embodiment of everything we've just discussed. He operates on the Goldilocks weight principle.
Right. Tsatsouline's approach is deeply rooted in how the central nervous system actually adapts to stress.
Okay, how did that work?
Well, if you lift too heavy, you trigger the body's fear mechanisms, leading to breakdown and injury. But if you lift too light, you provide no stimulus and the body doesn't adapt.
You have to find the sweet spot.
Exactly. You have to find the weight that is just right heavy enough to demand your absolute focus, but perfectly calibrated to your capacity.
But the real restraint comes in the volume, right? Because gym culture always screams, go to absolute failure.
Constantly. And Tsatsouline argues that going to absolute failure fries your central nervous system. His principle of restraint dictates that you should generally perform only half the repetitions you could theoretically max out at.
Wow, only half.
Yes. You always, always leave something in reserve. Why? Because it allows you to train again tomorrow.
Ah,
Just as a leader shouldn't exhaust their authority by speaking constantly, you shouldn't exhaust your physical capability by emptying the tank every single day. Restraint creates compounding interest over time.
you hold energy in reserve. The runner, Steve Prefontaine, elevates this concept of calibrated effort into something almost sacred.
He had such a beautiful philosophy on this.
He famously said, "Your life is God's gift to you. What you do with it is your gift to God. Giving less than your best is to cheat the gift." And in this context, giving your best doesn't mean frantic, flailing exertion.
No, not at all.
It means bringing your fully present, calibrated self to the task at hand.
And Peter Drucker takes this exact same ethic and scales it up to massive institutions. He looks at pension funds, which are, the primary long-term financial asset for most people.
Right.
Drucker argues that true stewardship of those funds requires immense vigilance and the restraint to act securely before a crisis forces your hand.
It's the exact same underlying mechanism, just at different scales.
Precisely. Whether you are stewarding your own central nervous system in the gym, leading a team of employees, or managing a multi-billion-dollar financial institution, the discipline is identical.
You protect what has been entrusted to you.
Yes. With disciplined restraint, you manage your energy, you refuse to act out of panic, and you protect the core.
So what does this all mean? When we zoom out and look at this synthesis, the architecture becomes breathtakingly clear.
It really does.
Authentic power is not built by screaming the loudest, posting the most, or running yourself to absolute failure. It is built through disciplined restraint. The leader who speaks less is heard infinitely more. The competitor who polices their internal self-talk builds an unshakable resilience. The professional who quietly owns a mistake earns immense trust.
That is the quiet architecture of power. And it is vital to remember that this architecture is not an empty, passive room.
Yo.
It is a room that is clean, highly purposeful, and perpetually ready for action. It is potential energy waiting to be deployed with precision.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you to mull over. Think about the interactions you have scheduled for tomorrow.
Yeah, look at your calendar.
What if the most powerful, influential thing you do all day isn't the brilliant point you make in a meeting, but the intentional space you leave for someone else to fill?